All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited today. I'm always excited about my webinars, but I'm really excited about today's webinar to touch the AI space, something that I have not done a lot with. And so I'm excited to have Brendan talk to us today. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Melissa Tompkins Lewis. I am the owner of South Coast Veterinary Management Solutions. I host once a month veterinary management webinars with different topics, different speakers, typically on the second Thursday of the month, although next month is going to be slightly different because I'm going to be at a conference at that time. So we're going to do it the week after. But today's presentation, I'm very excited to have Brendan Baker on here talking about AI in the modern veterinary practices and how you can utilize it, what helps, what adds noise. I love the title for that. And I'm very thrilled to have him come on here. I do upload my webinars to my YouTube channel, which is at South Coast Veterinary Manage, or you can just look up South Coast Veterinary Management Solutions and see all the videos I've ever done. I upload it afterwards, so in case you have to leave this early, you can, it's okay. If you are attending live, you will get CE credit for this. I have CVPM approval from the VHMA, so you'll get credit for coming today if you attend live. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Brendan in just a second. He said you can ask him questions anytime. So if you want to ask him a question, throw it in the chat. I'll interrupt him and ask him so that he can get back to you and answer your questions. So Brendan, why don't you go ahead and take over? Introduce yourself and
Yeah,
tell everybody.
absolutely. Thank you. So my name is Brendan Baker. I am a transplant to veterinary medicine. Basically, post-COVID, I was in human medicine, really got burnt out, ended up finding what I loved about medicine and vet med, right? So I ended up managing a practice with a team, and it became multiple teams. And I really fell in love with vet med and their teams because the empathy is something special to protect. Um, so my spouse is a veterinarian. We've got a gaggle of animals. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But basically, my background is I worked for Mission Vet Partners as a um, hospital manager. I managed practices that were general practice, rehab, urgent care, and even standalone urgent cares between Indianapolis and Cincinnati. Was what I do now is I build AI systems for the veterinary space. Um, and it was all actually inspired by a really bad software transition back to Cornerstone from a cloud PIMS. Yes, back to Cornerstone. So at that point, I decided, why are we using systems that are older than I am? And really thought that it's time. AI can do a lot of great things for us, but it should not be taking away from the care team. And where I see AI playing a really good role is allowing teams to focus on what matters, which is that care for that pet and that family and that time of need. So I look at it more from an operational standpoint than a medical assistant standpoint. And we'll get into some of that here in a few minutes. Continue here. So again, a little bit about me. Has there. I have my animals here. So we've got Jesse, who's 16, Sammy, who's 10, Charlie, 11, Mittens, 10, and then little baby Otis, 8-month-old. He chose us. He's our foster fail. Got adopted. The people thought he was going to be too big and returned him, and then he acted like he was home. So decided to keep him. And these animals they're from all over the country. Right now we live in Indiana. 3 of them are from New Jersey, 1 is from Texas, and 1's from Indiana. So just like us, who's lived all over the place, the pets came from those different places too. So what I want to start out with, and what I like to start out with in these talks, is basically saying AI is everywhere. We know it. How many of you have experienced, oh, AI this, AI that, AI native, AI scribe, all of the different hype, right? And I'm just going to tell you straight up, I build in the space, AI is not going to fix everything. It's just not, right? So there's a lot of people out there who truly believe that it does. Um, do those things. And I just think it leads to vendor fatigue, a confusion for team members, confusion for practices that are looking for good solutions to actually make sustainable decisions. And not every AI thing is created equal, right? There should be no fear. We should not be fearful that robots or these programs are going to be taking over veterinary care or technician care, right? Um, they're best used when they can support client service, surfacing things that matter, and all of that. Sorry, I'm going to try to move the Zoom box because it is right in the way of the presentation. Oop, just moved to the middle. Interesting. Um, and then we're going to talk about knot theory. So basically buying and workflow framing. So later on in the discussion here, we'll talk about basically what I call AI ROI and how you can actually evaluate if a tool is going to be useful or not for your practice and your team. So the standard really is you should ask, does it really help the clinic on a real day, right? You should not be looking at AI from a point of oh, it does this really cool, neat thing, right? It should be, does it actually give my team and my doctors relief? For example, broad AI with no specific job is very dangerous. Um, and what I mean by that is an AI that does scribing usually is pretty mundane. But once an AI starts to talk about treatments, problems, and moving information across, it gets a little hazardous for use across the clinic as a whole. What I recommend is what I call the Busy Tuesday test. So it only matters and it only should matter to your teams if it survives a real clinic day. So does it help with the clinic gets phones ringing nonstop, labs landing, clients asking for updates, doctors behind on notes, tech chasing approvals, CSRs trying to book things in spots that probably shouldn't be booked in, right? We all know that it's a living organism hospital, and AI should be able to support that organism. And if it doesn't, it actually makes it more difficult for your clinic to do certain things. So what I implore is to judge AI on the ugly part of the day. Adoption failure really occurs because most tools expect calm users, right? We know that the veterinary space and practices were not calm all the time, right? We're down two techs and an assistant, and there's 5 of us and 20 patients on the board. So a few high ROI AI actions that we like to discuss are surfacing urgency, right? So things like your your hospital, your clinic, your team creates a triage list, right? And what I mean by that is what are we able to see, what are we not able to see, and basically supporting CSRs to make the best decision on what happens, right? So your clinic might not want to see a GVD. So if a CSR is just like, "Ooh, I don't know, but this sounds really bad," and talks to an AI, they can literally hit a button and get that information that they need. For example, oh yeah, we don't do that, but we here's all the information you need to guide your client to the right ER, right? So quick answers is really where AI can have high ROI actions as long as it's seamless. Pulling patient context for doctors. You shouldn't have to go through 15 medical records and 20 pages to figure out why the pet might be here and what happened in the past, right? So understanding things like the best case that I like to say with this is surfacing and pulling context is you have a dog that's on steroids. Somebody wants to give them Rimadyl. You'd probably want to know before you do that, right? So surfacing that context information. Drafting client replies. This is where I think it's super beneficial to CSRs and team members. Uh, we all know that we have that one or two team members. If you have a texting platform at your hospital, whether it's Auto, Pet Desk, or Allied DVM, right? You got that one team member that uses it like it's a texting platform, and AI can actually help make sure that doesn't happen, and also have a professionalist tone to the speech. And the one I like the most is how many things fall behind, right? So AI that creates and follows and helps with tasks. So and what I mean by that is you have something that happens in a visit, and the AI is smart enough to go, ooh, Dr. Smith really likes the team to follow up on situations like this. It automatically creates a follow up for your team. Tools that require perfect data and behavior, that's what you should try to avoid. So when you're evaluating an AI tool, the real question is stop asking if it's impressive, right? I'm going to tell you right now, most of the tools I see are impressive, but do they work all the time? That's the real question. So is it easier? Is it less typing, less digging, less chasing? Is it safer, better handoffs and fewer missteps? Is it clearer, right? Clients and teams understand what happens next. So plain English, a fast assistant with a clipboard. That's what AI is right now. In the future, it could be extremely great for different parts, but it truly is an assistant with a clipboard. It's able to read forms, notes, and labs. It can listen to room calls and audio, draft messages, compare records and invoices, and flag incomplete steps. But it should be a second set of eyes and not the main clinic's brain. This is, oops, sorry, just trying to get back to where I was here. This is somewhere I feel firm, and I feel like a lot of veterinary providers and caregivers believe too, is AI should never be the veterinarian at all. It is not to that point, and I don't think that we're going to see that anytime in the near future, where it can assist with diagnostics, but it should not be the one making the decisions. It's not the boss. Humans should approve, correct, and override. AI should always present the issue, um, and let humans make the decision. It needs to be auditable. So that's what not a mystery box means. The team should be able to know why something was flagged, what happened, who flagged it, or if the system flags it, why it was flagged. And one of my favorite things to say is dropping not all AI is created equal. And dropping AI onto a broken process doesn't fix the actual process, right? So what that means is we really have to look at the foundation of our practice, our workflows, our teams, and our software and say, okay, what does the foundation look like? Because we're only as strong as that foundation across all of your tools and workflows. Bad AI really fails by overstepping or hiding the ball. If it tells the team to do something without showing why, it's not just trust that's lost, but it feels that it's a confident little black box of data, right? You should be able to see all of that. It all comes down to trust before tools, right? Trustworthy AI is operational, means do you understand what it's used for? Does it understand what its role is? Is it reviewable and who checks it? Is it correctable? Can we fix it? And it's accountable. Who owns the next step? Right. So even though all these assistants and AI and vet med, right, we all use different software. I'm sure some use Scribe Notes, some use Scribble Vet, some use different dictations, Talkatoo, right? Um, that all still comes with a process that we have to build out and understand where our team is going to be using it, right? So understandable, right? Let's use an AI scribe, for example. Understandable. What did it use? It uses a microphone, it records my conversation, and it does that. Let's go to number two. It's reviewable. We know it's reviewable, but who's doing it? Does it fall to a VA? Does it fall to the doctor? Does it fall to the nurse? Who brings it over into the PIMS? Is it correctable? If whoever's checking it finds an issue, can they easily fix it? And then planning on who's accountable for that next step. So if it needs to get in, like I said, into the PIMS, if it needs a discharge record sent to the client, who's owning that next step? So even though AI can be efficient and help us with certain things, we still need a process that includes human beings to make it be more efficient, right? You also have to make sure that there's trust. In my personal experience, that was my biggest issue I ran into with doctors at my the practices I helped manage and run. That there was no trust in the AI tools because the dog's name's Fluffy and it's giving three different names every time they mention the name, right? Or it's making up things that didn't exist or misunderstanding. And those are things that do happen, but did it flag it? Did it say, hey, I didn't understand this section? Did it give you a confidence score? Probably not. And those are all things that erode trust. And if we want to have good, useful AI tools, we need to have them be trustworthy. So we'll get into some of the more useful jobs for AI, or what I call the useful jobs. Notice. So I absolutely love AI tools that catch context before it becomes a problem. I gave an example of the steroids, aggressive dogs. It can surface at a time of booking, right? So you don't actually have to go look in the chart, but it can just say, hey, you've got a dog reactive dog and you've got 3 dog patients on the schedule at this time, even though they're in different rooms. Do you still want to book this here? It can remember things. So it turns promises into own steps. So one of the coolest things that I've seen from integrated, like fully integrated in the system AI scribes is, for example, if they want a follow-up appointment, the doctor says, I'd like to see this dog in 2 weeks for a follow-up appointment. The team can't complete that visit because the AI is saying, hey, did you book that follow-up? So things like that, or you have a conversation on the phone with an owner, I promise to get you those blood work results in the next 2 days, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We know we make promises sometimes. Um, and that reminder is made to make sure you call back Mrs. Smith with those blood work results. It should be able to explain, right? And it's coming off of my soap note. What the doctor gets is not necessarily what the client shows and keywords into full text. With what I'm doing here in software, what we're trying to do is we have what we call a persona engine. RVTs, LVTs, practice managers, doctors, even each doctor. The system goes, okay, they like to see this information in this pattern. And the next time that Dr. Smith logs in, everything that's surfaced that Dr. Smith likes is in the order Dr. Smith wants. However, Dr. Graham might want it in a different order. So Dr. Graham shows up how Dr. Graham wants it, and surfacing what those team members need to know about their day. So AI is really beneficial in ways like that. And with the follow-up and closing the loop, we all know that we've offered promises and things to clinics and clients, referral partners, whatever it may be, where we need to actually close the loop. AI is really good at nudging us to do those things. So we have a few examples that I like to build on here. So notice how the team can basically help the how the AI can help the team remember things they need to do. So timely, specific, useful stuff, flagging the things that humans miss. So, like for example, a good alert that I had in here is diabetic patient is booked as a routine for vomiting and is not eaten today. Maybe we should triage this. This pet might need to come in earlier, right? Basically saying to the team, hey, I found this anomaly. I want you to take a look at it. Not saying, okay, I'm going to book this patient earlier because I think it needs to be seen sooner. Other practical examples, refills, basically NSAID refilled requested, notices blood work overdue, weight changed, flags it and says, hey, do you guys really want to take a look at this? Boarding. Tara's arrival has expired Bordetella. We also need the rabies certificate. These are things that should be processed that our teams miss because we're human beings and we're over processing a lot of information and things from the day. And that's something that can help with. And something as simple as missed charges, right? So if something is performed but it doesn't show up on the invoice, we know that we're now losing that potential revenue, and that hurts our team, that hurts our practice, right? AI can do those things really, really well. Remembering, right? So how many? I'm sure many of us have done the the we should do this, and it hasn't ever actually become action, right? So AI can help you become an actionable. For instance, calling owners, rechecking swabs, repeating labs, sending estimates, documents that are declined diagnostics. That you should not, your tech, yourself, your CSRs should not be running around with sticky notes in their head, right? The system should be helping to support them. And let's be honest, how many sticky notes? I'll raise my hand on this. How many sticky notes fall behind the monitor, and you have no way of remembering to do that thing, right? And then you find it 6 months later when you're cleaning your desk, and you're like, oh, I was supposed to call Mrs. Smith back. She had a complaint. Oops. So we know that all happens, and the more and more that we can have AI assist us with that, the less and less we have to rely on ways that are not as potentially reliable. And not only that, right? Remembering, I think that, and I've got to remember I'm speaking to a bunch of vet professionals with this too, so I'm going to word it in a better way. But there's two different types of burnout in our industry, right? I think there's the emotional, and that's just we unfortunately there's no quick fix to that. It is a job that requires a lot of care, compassion, and doing some things that can be, very emotional. And I think that's valid feelings to have. However, I think it gets exacerbated by a different type of burnout as well. And that is truly operational burnout from the teams running around, remembering to do things, all of these different stuff. And that is a problem we can fix. And AI that remembers and prompts our teams to help them do those things and makes us a little more efficient without overburdening us can take away some of that operational burnout, which in turn makes it a little more sustainable for all of us, right? So another one from remember, from plan to own task, right? The plan says call the owner in 48 hours. We're going to follow up and make sure that Fluffy is okay after his arm body surgery. So the AI asks the team member, would you like me to create a callback task for Friday? Pulls all the context, does all the stuff. Human says, yes, I want that. System now puts it into the task list and reminds the user and anyone at the same title, hey, call and check on Fluffy. Helpful AI also helps protect the trust with your client.
Can I ask a question? What kind of task lists are you putting this into, and how does it show up to the employees and doctors?
Yeah. So task lists. So basically, we know task lists are pretty much static, right? So depending on your software, there could be options. Like for example, ours, the AI will prompt it, and it goes just like any other PIMS, right? It goes into a list that person can see that's assigned to them. It could nudge other people if they don't respond to that. So it kind of goes into the same place as other tasks would do, except you get notifications and the system kind of creates them based on what you were doing instead of you manually entering the task.
Okay, but like the notifications, are they text or pop-ups or
They are texts. I mean, sorry, they are pop-ups, and also um, I can speak for our system. They're pop-ups, but they're also it gets pushed to each team member can have the app as well, and on their phone it can push to their phone as well and remind them to do that item.
okay, sorry, I just don't know what's available out there, so that's why I'm
Yeah,
asking.
not a worry, not a worry. And things change rapidly as well. So things are every day I'm learning about some new thing that's happening in the industry as well. So I understand. Explanations. So turning medical instructions and human instructions, right? So we were talking about this briefly, where monitoring closely is not necessarily a plan, right? Clients' worries, details, all the things, we get it. So before, let's say we have that example, and then it can make the SIG give one tablet every 12 hours the meal. It could put it in the discharge document and makes it understandable because even though the first one might make sense to us, our clients aren't going to know what that means necessarily unless they're in the medical field. And even then, human med uses different shorthand sometimes. So clear communication is clinical care for pet owners, right? Where AI explanations can really benefit is discharge instructions. So the medication schedules, what to watch, when to call, what's urgent, and when to get seen. Decline diagnostics. Why was it declined? Was it declined because of cost? Was it declined because of another reason? And hey, are 50% of our clients declining our blood work we just raised the price on? Maybe that's part of the problem, right? So it can trigger that understanding to help support best care. Client messages, draft that sounds professional, complete, and just plain, right? We don't need fancy words. We don't need every fifth character to be an emoji sometimes. Sometimes one is enough or none, right? We are there should be a emotion and it should be human, but it also an empathy, but it also needs to be professional, right? Organizing. So I don't know how many people use multiple tools, what I refer to as bolt-ons, for forms or texts or uh, estimates. I mean, we all know labs are outside as well, but this is something where AI can be super beneficial as well, is organizing. You send out 4 appointment reminders. They're all confirmed. Forms get sent out or questionnaires get sent out. Prehistory forms, surgical forms, signature, DNR status, whatever your clinic would utilize. Well, AI can take that in, put it in the patient record, and then surface what is super and critical and important for your team to know at that time of that visit. For example, you have a pre-surgical form. Gets filled out, AI sees it, comes back. Well, owner's reporting that maybe so and so threw up last night, but they did sign the consent form. So you got two pieces of information for your team at the intake of that surgery, right? The consent form is signed and there's a vomiting issue. So surfacing things without you having to actually go through them completely. Notes, as we know, AI scribes are extremely helpful. Lab trends is another one that can be extremely beneficial with AI. Making sure invoices are completed and collected. Estimates, again, explaining them to clients. I know we are tinkering with our clinics right now. We're talking with them about how can we present an interactive estimate to a client where it will explain to them the benefit of each piece of care and have them understand it. It doesn't mean the acceptance is going to be better. And honestly, we're not looking at it as a power grab or a money grab situation. We're looking at it as how can we help educate to support the human animal bond. Texts, calls, memory, everything that you've had in the past. You've talked to Mrs. Smith 3 times about these different issues. It can give you a call summary, right? So this is where it can be really beneficial to have AI that does not say, I'm going to throw everything at you. Here's the kitchen sink, but here's what you need in this context in this moment. It makes the mess usable, right? So intake summaries. We all know that they can be a mess. Everybody uses them different ways, says different things. You might have a client that moved over to your practice who has been at 3 other practices in the last 2 years, right? So now you've got different catches and different hands and different information. AI can standardize that and give you that summary. Long history and other issues, again, can surface that you've got an 11-year-old dog that's coming to you as a new patient. It's got 200 pages of documents, right, of a record that the owner kept, every receipt, everything. It can summarize that for you. Lab results, what's changed, what's normal, what needs review. And it can even take into consideration things like, okay, what diagnoses or problems have they had in the past? It can take breeds risk into account. So AI can do a lot of things to reduce your having to dig manually and actually, again, surface that context that you could be utilizing to speed up your day. The follow-up. I can promise that the future is not a robot in a white coat. I feel confident saying that. I don't think in the next, at least my lifetime, that we're going to be completely comfortable with AI just doing care. I do think that AI is going to do some wonderful things for supporting care and even discoveries in medicine. But I don't think we as human beings are going to say, okay, it's got the final say on how we treat something, right? But follow-up is where that trust is earned or leaked with your clients, right? So those post-op calls, those recheck reminders, testing dates, even something as simple as reminding a client that their puppy has to come back in for the second dose of a shot, right? Things that we as people forget quite frequently sometimes, or we have to set up 16 different reminders in the back end of our system to do. AI can help support that in a better way. Abnormal labs, asking the doctor that they might need to reach out or delegate reaching out about these lab results. and specifically prevention. I think that AI can help really with prevention reminders and assisting clients with finding ways to get prevention at the best price, because it is also, in my personal opinion, I mean, put prevention, or we put prevention in all of our animals, but it is considered to many as best medicine, right? So, but the cost can be a problem. So being able to shop to your preferred people, send them information, educational as well, and help them find the best deal that supports their budget while also supporting their pet. Closing the loop. So AI can help with the follow-up by closing, again, the loop. Post-op callbacks. You have a 2-week recheck on an ear infection. You want a cytology. Set that up for 2 weeks. DVM review, client not contacted for lab results. The record is now at the finish line. We always know the finish line is when we get those results back and we've relayed it to the owner. Scribes are useful, but not enough. You're going to see a lot of tools out there now, not just AI scribes, which there are, I think, a plethora. I learn about a new AI scribe every day. So I'm sure that everyone else is getting targeted at figuring out, oh, wow, there's like 3 more options that I didn't know were out there. They're useful, but they're not enough. They're not completely enough when it comes to how we can utilize AI to support practices more, right? And what I mean by that is it's great that it can dictate, but what can it do with that information? If your team has to move it into a system like Cornerstone or Pulse, it's just a static record. If you have an AI system that can understand and trigger reminders, follow-ups, all of the things that you and your team would like to know and like to have, but sometimes get forgotten. So what adds noise? Bad AI still sounds smart, and I want to say that. It still sounds like the smartest thing you'll ever see. It likes to use big words, but still generic answers, hallucinated details, and hallucinations are still frequent, even in the most locked down agentic systems. Even ours, we sometimes have hallucinations that we fix. It's not too preventable yet. You can do a lot to keep it from happening a lot, but you can't prevent it 100%. Too many alerts, right? We all get alert fatigue. And that goes back to Dr. Diane's question earlier about how does it alert, right? So alert fatigue is something that we're trying to figure out in our system as well. And we're actually toying with different light colors that just show up on the screen, right? In a non-distracting way. Because the little red bubbles that pop up everywhere and the 9,000 emails and task messages and all that get a little overwhelming. And for the neurodivergents like me, I know that little red bubble drives me nuts. So I try to do other things, but yeah. So tasks nobody owns. That's the coolest part about these AI systems that are more integrated. Is if something falls out, or something was assigned to LVT Jackson and they're on vacation, right? They're on PTO. The system can see that they're on PTO and actually reassigns that to another RVT, so the ball doesn't get dropped. Those are useful things, right? One now needs to act on it. The last time when we were on the cloud system, I'm pretty sure my team had on average 7 tabs open. Online pharmacy, Antech health tracks, auto for communication, the system itself, and then 3 other windows for finding information in the system, right? So by utilizing AI properly, we can actually eliminate those separate screens that nobody needs to check, or you would need to do one thing, right? An AI that needs constant babysitting. If you have to check every little thing it does, I'm not saying review, I'm saying if you have to go in and edit every single thing it does, then you're constantly babysitting it. And that's not helpful to you either, because you're actually going to waste more time. I firmly believe that bad alerts make good teams ignore software, right? So going back to what we were also talking about, that goes to alert fatigue, right? So you really just need specific, timely, useful info and what you need to do. So what, why, and how. As a manager, I was tasked with adopting new systems. The only one I did not get a say about is the PIM system itself. But when I evaluated AI tools and other tools, I said, what is problems it's solving? I sat down and said, okay, what am I looking to do? What is my team looking to do? What are my doctors looking to do? Who's the primary user? Who's going to check it? Who's going to complete the task? And after all that, is it really saving us time, or are we just moving work around? And what I mean by that is our practice, we had what we called patient care coordinators. We had RVTs, which is technicians and assistants. And each doctor had one RVT, one PCC, and one assistant. And basically, they had 20-minute appointments and they went from room to room in two different columns. What I found when we doing the AI scribe, right, our doctors would be going from the room to room and they'd have their charts done. But then the PCC was getting backed up because they would have to take that record, put it into Cornerstone, and then create a discharge document that the doctor then had to review. So even though it was saving time for the doctor in the room, it was actually slowing down the support team and making more work for them. Where clinics can start, or should start, this is where I started to look at how can we optimize AI systems within the practices. That's intake summaries, discharge instructions, callbacks, rechecks, refill review. And I'll get into that in a second. Messaging drafts, document cleanup, and missed charges, right? So specifically, the one that I think is most fascinating is the refill review, because it borderlines on being clinical AI, and sometimes clinical AI, I think it's a buzzword. But unless there's a lot of safety checks and balances and the human has the final say, it can be dangerous. Refill review AIs do things like, and we have one within our system where it will check your standards and you create flags that you want the system to check. For example, you have a list of interactions that you can be concerned about. When you put in a medication, it automatically checks and says, okay, is the dog on anything or the pet on anything that could interfere with that medication or be risky for that animal? And then surface that. So it doesn't say, no, we're not going to dispense it. It says, hey, doc, did you know that this dog is also on this medication that might not play nice with this one? You can do things like, okay, this is a controlled drug. You can't actually give a paper record for it or a paper script for it. It has to be either on the legal paper ERX or to an online pharmacy securely, right? So it could do a lot of those things and make sure that your team, it can help with diversion even. So there's a lot of really cool things that refill AIs can do now. And where a lot of focus, I believe, is truly on, like it says here at the bottom, you don't need the robot doctor, right? Start at the operational part. Stop at that drop callback. Start with your operations team with AI. It's not earth shattering or life altering for an AI to every once in a while potentially just mess up a summary on a callback, right? But messing up a medication request or something else for a patient could be really devastating. So the QR code here, and I'll pull this up in a second on my screen. What I look at is as an ROI gut check is I look at what's the value created, right? So how much are we getting versus the cost? That's your return on investment. So again, we go to that, pick one problem, how much is saved, capture that leakage, what's the monthly cost, and then what I say is keep, fill, fix, kill. For example, a tool worth keeping. You have a scribe here or a scribe and all the things here, an AI system that saves about total in 60 days to save me, or 22 days to save us 36.6 hours. Now we take that times our hourly rate. And this is support team, not necessarily based off of a doctor because that would be a higher hourly rate. But let's just say it saves our team now 36 hours times 60. That's my tech, that's my assistant, that's my CSR. So that's $2,100 back in our budget here. Leakage captured, okay, it caught things that we didn't put on the bill. We retained $250. The cost for software to review and training was $400. So we have a net positive ROI of $2,000. It's not perceived time, it's actual reclaimed time. And here's the babysitter problem, right? So we have another system that over 15 appointments, it saved us 2 minutes over 22 days. So it's 11 hours. Gave us 11 hours back. So what's that 11 hours? It's $660. We don't use it for invoice review, so it's at zero. So it's $0 there. And then we also need to do heavy editing and training constantly. So it's $1,300 in cost to our team. Put your return on investment in the negative, right? So if it needs a babysitter, there is already leakage that is occurring. So going to the keep, fix, kill. If it saves time, it catches mission steps, it supports your team making those callbacks and those follow-ups, it's worth looking at as keep. If it helps but creates too many alerts, unclear things like ownership, or really like moderate, not severe, but moderate review burden, it could possibly be fixed. Maybe it's how we're using it, right? If it creates more problems and you're constantly chasing it, that's when I'd go to kill it and remove it. Useful beats impressive every time. And the core of it, AI should not make veterinary medicine less human. It should really give humans more room to do the work that matters. That's my philosophy. And I believe that most people in vet med would probably support that philosophy. We can use these tools to really spend better quality time with our patients. And that's where we should be focusing on it.
Hey, Brendan, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I can.
Oh, thank God. My screen was having issues and I froze and it was ridiculous. So Sarah was going to interrupt you, but I'm going to go ahead and Sarah, can you please read him the questions? I don't want to touch the chat because I'm afraid it's going to make my computer freeze even more. So can you read him the questions that are in there for me?
Yeah,
And I'm
there's
happy to have a
couple.
Q&A too, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, there's a couple questions in here. Lindsay asked, what practice management system are you using?
So in practice, I had experience with Cornerstone, Neo, and Pulse. Now what I do is I actually created a platform called One. So Pothos X1 is our platform, and it's set around, it does everything that a PIMS does, but it's all set around agentic AI, so operational AI.
Okay.
And then Grace's question was actually answered in your last two slides.
Does anyone have any other questions they want to ask? And I was going to ask you something, but if no one else has a question, I have a couple. So I'll throw it out to anybody. If you have a question, you can unmute and say it or type it in the chat real quick, although I can't read it. So it doesn't help. But Sarah can read it if you type something. My question for you is the different scribe softwares that are out there, different AI softwares. Which ones would you recommend if you were recommending a good software that does a lot of the things that you just talked about? Are there any that you feel are better than others?
I feel they're all, so it's kind of difficult to say that, to say one's better than the other. They all have strengths, they all have weaknesses. But, and here's the big but, most of them are using transcription and either using ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, right? So most of them have the same functionalities when it comes to actual dictation and transferring that. The individual companies can have the strength on how they program the system to use those. But the underlying architecture of most AI scribes are pretty similar, to be honest. So it would be difficult. And on our platform, we try to be as impartial as possible. So I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, and I apologize for that.
Well, the ones I'm familiar with are like ScribbleVet and like AI Scribe or something like that. So I don't know if that is in your wheelhouse of who you work with. I'm assuming.
Yeah, our doctors. So when we first started talking about AI scribes, We discussed one in it was ScribbleVet was the first one our doctor team tried out, and they absolutely adored it and loved it. Um, so that was something that they liked. They liked specifically how um, they liked how it would actually process a little more clear and pretend and present a way better soap than say some of their competitors. Eventually, they were moved over to Scribe Note as our corporate. I was with the corporate group. Uh, Went to and pulled in a different provider at a better price for the corporate. So the doctors had experience with that. I know Instinct just purchased ScribbleVet. I'm sure it's going to be great within their platform, and that's what they're going to eventually do, as others like ourselves do as well. But the underlying architecture is pretty similar.
Okay. Sir, I think another chat popped in, but I only saw it for a second.
Yeah, that's why I joined this one too. I'll go with that question too. Because we use Instinct and we just started using ScribbleVet, which is exciting for us. But Dr. I'm sorry, I'm gonna ruin your name, Cosco. She asked if you could show us any examples of what you're actually seeing by screen sharing with us.
In platform or what specifically? Sorry.
You spoke about so many things. The only thing we're doing now is I'm on my fourth scribe service trying it, and just seeing way too much hallucination and other stuff. It's taking far too much more time now to work and review my records than it did
Yeah.
just writing them in, and it's getting very frustrating. But I like how you're saying use it for all these other operational things, but I can't even picture how you guys are seeing it and doing it and fitting it into the workflow. I'm not
Yeah.
getting it.
Melissa, if you're okay, or I can show how we handle it in our platform if
Yeah,
you're comfortable
absolutely.
with me
Go for
sharing.
it.
Okay.
And then Kathleen, I saw her question, has a question about equine. So
Yeah.
popped up. I could
I was getting excited about that one. I've got a lot of cool stuff with that to talk about. So basically, this is our platform. It's obviously in light mode or dark mode, but how we handle it is basically, and this is an empty place. So I don't have much in here, I don't think. Nope. So basically, how we utilize it is let's make an appointment here for me. Random doctor. All right. So here is how AI can also help. So I'm pulling in Otis, which is my dog, right? He has no active alerts, no upcoming vaccinations, no outstanding balance, and there's no concerns for scheduling here. So I schedule Otis. Now Otis is here. I check him in, and I can start going right into EMR, where the doctor would start in our platform, where they can start their visit, where they'd see where the team is in the process. You can see long-term care and the process of plans and orthopedic and care, see medications, and any past history will show up here as well before you go into the appointment. For us, this is where that flow happens. So we do a little bit differently than some others where you can see the transcript live. So as you're actually talking through and doing the stuff, it'll capture everything. It'll capture all the fluff, everything that happens, back and forth pleasantries, but you see it live. Then we have things like exam, where you're doing your exam, your notes, your vitals, any mass mapping, any labs, anything that's in your treatment plan. And that's what goes into your SOAP note. So basically, as you're recording and your team's recording and you're going through all the things, all of this information goes into SOAP and discharge. And why that's helpful is how many scribe systems you either have to dictate, right, what you're doing with exam, which will work in our system too. However, there's more chance of something being lost, right? So by doing the physical exam, the AI then knows, okay, all of these things for Otis are what the doctor said they are. And it treats this as the overriding thing, even if it captured something weird. So transcript, if it picks up a follow-up or anything like that, it will pull that out and then prompt the team at the end. And then it will take out all that fluff and all the pleasantries and put in just the core SOAP information based off of your template. So when you get to the end and you go to send a discharge record, and I don't know if I have one that is, let me see.
So
It's
can it
easy.
also, off the stuff you're speaking about, can it help you create an estimate or a treatment plan?
Yep. So the next update we have out is actually to build the treatment plan for you. If you don't have automatic things. So for example, if you have wellness appointments, you could put in what your charge is for the wellness for a puppy. But if it's a walk-in, emergency, anything like that, it will be able to find the like item and put it in the treatment plan for you. For example, this is just a random test that we did. Have the exam, we did surgery, and then we had our treatment plan, and then we have our soap notes. So it pulled out some of the things, found that its ears, nose, all the things were within normal limits. It had some diarrhea, uh, created the plan, and then creates a discharge document that the clients, that's geared towards clients. So once that's completed, you can do your scheduling and the follow-ups. It will pull out information and create tasks for you, and you can do automations that way. So by embedding a scribe directly into the flow itself, it can do a lot more than just your note.
I have a question on
I hope
that
that
before you
answered.
do the equine question. So a lot of times, like a team member has to initial that they did something. So if this AI puts it into a treatment, is there a spot where they can initial that they did it? Like it's not just the.
They don't need to. So what it does is it actually logs who does what. So one of the big things that as a practice manager, I use my practice manager mind for is audits. So there's a compliance dashboard, and you can see, okay, that consent was converted. It was blocked. You can see what happened, what's been going on, was an invoice given before treatment, ownership disclosures, right to shop. So there's different things, but you can also AI audit. So AI analytics is where you can actually go in and see, like, this is my test. So I test like literally everything. I try to break stuff. But basically you say, okay, who asked for that? What happened? What went on? And in the system itself, like even our DEA logs, it will log the person automatically. So the user, everything within the system is completely auditable by user at each step.
Are these DEA logs accepted by the DEA or?
They export the same way that a paper log of like any AHA paper book would. So they export in the same fashion.
Okay, and then also, what is our biggest problem? We went to EasyVet because they said the reminder system was so good, but we have very customized reminders, and I still have to go in and hand change each pet for a lot of this stuff. How does your platform work for that?
So reminders are also AI assisted. So basically, once they're set up on the back end, the AI, even if you change the name of something, let's say you had rabies 3 years, Rabvac, and you switch to Vanguard and you put Vanguard in the ID, the system knows, okay, that's still a rabies, so I'm going to replace that at the next year. So our system is set up to be rather smart, but also link items in inventory to a point of that you should not have to. If you remove Vanguard or whoever you use BI from the mix and replace it with a different vaccine, you don't actually have to recreate a whole new code. You can just say, okay, this is the replacement for that item.
Okay. All right. Now I don't know what the equine question was, but I don't know if you can see it in the chat or if Sarah has to read it too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, equine question. She wants to know, since the exam rooms are extremely large, do you think it would pick up the voices from a far distance than sitting right next to a computer?
Yeah, so it depends on the computer and the mic, to be honest with you. If you're using a $300 HP, probably not. If you're using a webcam, for example, a Logitech, probably so. But that's for the reason why we did something else with that is we actually have an app that goes on the iPhone or Android, depending on what user you are, for the doctor, and they can literally transcribe there. And it will just push right back into the system automatically. So that was to solve kind of those problems. And then for mobile equine vets, we actually have what we're playing with. We have local nodes that we are playing with that can actually do transcription locally. So if they're away from cell service or anything like that, it can still transcribe for them. So systems like that we're looking at redundancy features as well and scribing.
Okay. Is there any other questions that anybody else has?
Yeah, so Do you have information like on how much the system costs and how you transition from one PIMS to another? What's
Yeah.
involved in that?
Yeah, absolutely. On our website, there is. So the best one, the easiest one to go to is vos.vet. So literally V Victor O Ocean S Sam .vat. You'll be able to see pricing information on there. The one thing that makes us super unique is we don't do the seat tax. So we refuse to charge by user, and we have flat fees. So what you see is what you get. Um, and there was a second question on that. Oh, the transition. We actually have this thing that we used to call Rosetta X. It's now called Move to Pathos. And basically, what it does is it can move 80% of your materials safely, literally using CSV exports. So you can export your client list, just drag it over. It literally will import it in for you. And then our team will go in and pull over x-rays and documentation. And it does that securely encrypted.
Okay, what about we take tons of photos and videos? What
Mhm.
about that? That as
Yeah,
well.
that would be documents, all of that stuff would be moved over manually.
And then
Anything
what
that's bigger than a patient PDF, basically.
and then what is the availability of your customer service? And is it by telephone or just chat or just email?
We have all of the above. So we actually have an AI system that you can actually call and it can actually troubleshoot with you. And if you get frustrated, obviously you just say human at any time and it goes to a person. But we have that. We also have a ticketing system. We have text text message support, and each clinic that onboards kind of gets what we call a clinic partner for an X amount of time. So we try to engage with the hospitals at a local level. And soon, like as we build out, so we're expanding into the United Kingdom. As we build out that team, there'll be, if your clinics are open later here, you'll be able to have support by that team, and anybody here will be able to support during US time.
And have you transitioned anyone from EasyVet in particular?
Not EasyVet. We've done Cornerstone. We've done. We might have a ProVet coming up as well, which would be a different one as well. EasyVet has not. However, we do have the database schemas, and that's how we kind of move data. So we do have that pretty set up, and we go over that with clinics before we even move data with an in-depth plan.
And I mean, just like I'm just afraid, like we went from Avamark to EasyVet and a lot of the stuff transferred over, but then a lot didn't. And we were
Mhm.
kind of stuck from there. And I don't want to lose more data.
It's usually easier with cloud systems because cloud systems usually force the vendor to actually push the information to the new vendor. Pulling over from server is a little more difficult, and going reverse from cloud to server is even more difficult, as I've experienced. I was pushed from IDEX Neo back to Cornerstone, so we lost a lot of stuff, and that was IDEX to IDEX, right? Um, so that is a pain point we are very well aware of, and we don't want happening to anyone.
Is yours cloud-based or is yours server-based?
We do a little bit of
Either.
both.
Mhm.
So what that means is we are cloud-based for most actions, but we put what we call local nodes in the hospital. And what that local node does is we actually have a PAC system that's built in. So you get that. With that, you also get it's a computer on your location that securely talks to ours. So your printing isn't a downloaded app, but an actual computer. So printing is more reliable. And we're rolling out more AI local features for privacy-based things. So you'll be able to have transcription, so downtime stuff. Transcription will happen on the computer on downtime, discharge records, so you can still do those things if Amazon or Cloudflare go down, right? The other cool thing that those systems can do is we actually have this thing, not to get too technical, it's Matter, which is basically the standard for Google, Amazon, and Apple smart home things. So our local nodes actually can control diffusers, lights, and things through automations in the clinic. So
Okay.
we try to put both. Mhm.
Okay, and then so like right now, EasyVet is only integrated with IDEX, so it doesn't pull in any of our Antech or some of our radiologist report, but it does only with their stuff. Does yours pull in from all different companies?
We can. Now, that's a tricky answer. So yes, we can. We are actually open API. which means that literally as long as you have a token, which is your authentication, you can literally use anything. We connect with Zapier, which allows like 6,000 or 7,000 different apps to actually talk with ours as well. So like QuickBooks, you can pull information out of ours and go right into QuickBooks, or Gusto, HR platforms. When it comes to veterinary integration, it's a little harder, specifically IDEX and Antech and VetCove, those three. They tend to be a little more closed off and protective, or needing more advanced contract work. So we will integrate with other companies, and we are in the works of integrating with, I think, currently 10 or so different veterinary specific ones. I don't want to comment who they are because we're just ongoing in talks, but that's the challenge. Now, what we do in our system to make up for it is we actually have a folder where you can just drag that lab work, like you print it off of Help Tracks, just drop it in a folder, and it will actually pull it and insert it into the system like it's been there the entire time. So.
Okay, but right now you have nothing in the works with IDEX and Antech.
Mhm.
Okay, and then what about like AIS for radiology or DVM Insight for radiology? Are those ones you?
Those are two companies I've never heard of, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So, but we do, like I said, we do actually pull in. So if their reports are PDFs, they can pull in normally to our system as well. So anything that doesn't directly integrate, we can pull in reports via PDF, and it inserts it like it's been there.
And then if you can jump back to off of your scribing notes there in your exam, can it automatically start an estimate for the client?
Yes, as long as it is set up appropriately, our system can do that if you have the direct things. So it will listen for things and then link items. If it's unsure, to say, hey, you might want to check this before presenting the estimate, but it will do that. And it also will fill out if it's confident. Again, we make everything based off confidence scores. If the A is confident in an exam thing too, it can also mark those off if your clinic would prefer that as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Thank you, Brendan, so much for all this information. I'm sorry I froze and I'm now off camera because I'm scared to touch my camera, that I feel like I'm going to lose everything and I don't want to lose the recording. So thank you to everyone who came and asked questions. Really appreciate all the information, Brendan. I can share your information with everyone when I send out the recording. And if you have slides you want me to send or any information you want me to send with that,
I'll share it
please
with
send
you
that
as
to
well.
me. Yeah, and then I'll send it to everybody who registered, whether they attended in person or not. So thank you to everyone who attended live today. For those of you who were live, you will get a CE certificate from me probably next week, because IVMA is this weekend and I'm focusing on that the whole weekend. So it'll be next week, but I hope everyone has a great rest of your day and I look forward to seeing you again next month.